My name is Janet Clark and I'm 42 years old. 6 months ago, I thought I had everything figured out. I owned a beautiful $850,000 home that I'd spent 15 years saving for, working double shifts as a nurse practitioner. Then came the words that shattered my world: "You have stage 3 breast cancer." I remember sitting in Dr. Martinez's office, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry wasps. The smell of antiseptic burned my nostrils as she explained the aggressive treatment plan. "You'll need immediate chemotherapy," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "The next 6 months are going to be brutal, Janet." My sister Jennifer was with me that day. She squeezed my hand and said, "Don't worry, sis. We'll take care of everything." Her brown eyes seemed so sincere, so full of love. "You just focus on getting better. Mama and I will handle your bills, your mail, everything." I trusted her completely. Why wouldn't I? She was my baby sister, the one I'd helped raise after Daddy left. The one who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms whispering, "Janet, will you protect me forever?" Looking back now, I can see how naive I was. But when you're facing death, when the chemo makes you so weak you have to hold on to walls just to stand, you want to believe your family has your back. You need to believe it. That first treatment hit me like a freight train. The nausea was overwhelming, but worse was the bone-deep exhaustion that made even thinking feel impossible. I handed Jennifer my house keys and my power of attorney forms with shaking hands. "Take care of my baby," I whispered, meaning my house. She smiled and kissed my forehead. "Always." If I'd known what she was really thinking, I would have run. The chemotherapy turned my body into a battlefield. Every morning felt like waking up with the flu, food poisoning, and a hangover all at once. My beautiful natural hair fell out in clumps, circling the drain like dead leaves. I'd spent years growing those locks, and watching them disappear felt like losing pieces of myself. "Honey, you need to let us help you," Mama said during one of her visits. She sat beside my bed, her weathered hands folding my laundry with precise movements. "Jennifer's been handling everything so well. Your mortgage payments, utilities, even got your grass cut." I should have been grateful, but something nagged at me. "How much did the lawn service cost?" I asked weakly. Mama waved her hand dismissively. "Don't worry about money right now. Jennifer's got it handled. She's been meeting with some financial advisors to make sure everything's organized." Financial advisors? I'd never mentioned needing those. But the fog in my brain made it hard to focus on anything beyond surviving each day. The walls of my bedroom seemed to pulse with each heartbeat, and even lifting my head required tremendous effort. Jennifer visited every few days, always with updates that should have comforted me. "The mail's all sorted," she'd say, sitting in my reading chair. "Bills are paid. I even got that property tax thing handled." "What property tax thing?" I mumbled through chemo brain fog. "Oh, just some paperwork. Nothing for you to worry about." Her smile never wavered, but looking back, there was something cold behind her eyes. Something calculating. I trusted her because I had to. When you can barely walk to the mailbox without collapsing, when holding a phone feels like lifting weights, you surrender control. You believe your family loves you enough to protect what matters most. How wrong I was. While I lay in bed fighting for my life, Jennifer was fighting for something else entirely. My house. I discovered later that she'd been meeting with real estate lawyers twice a week, always on Thursdays when I was at treatment. "We need to move fast," Jennifer told attorney Marcus Webb during their third meeting. I know this because Marcus's secretary, Mrs. Patterson, would later testify about overhearing conversations. "My sister's really sick. We don't know how much time she has left." Mrs. Patterson remembered Jennifer pacing the office, her heels clicking against the marble floor. "What exactly are you trying to accomplish here?" Marcus had asked. "I need to get the house transferred into my name," Jennifer explained. "Janet's too weak to handle her own affairs. Our mother has power of attorney, and we think it's best if the property gets transferred now before, you know." What I didn't know was that Jennifer had been forging documents for weeks. She'd practiced my signature until it was nearly perfect, using old birthday cards and Christmas notes as reference. She'd even stolen my personal seal from my home office during one of her caring visits. Mama played her part perfectly. "The poor thing can barely hold a pen," she told Marcus during their consultation. "Jennifer's always been better with money anyway. This is really for Janet's own good." They painted me as mentally incompetent, too sick to make decisions. They used my cancer diagnosis as a weapon against me, telling everyone at Mount Olive Baptist Church that they were just trying to help poor Janet manage her affairs. Sister Williams from church later told me what Mama had said. You know how proud Janet is. She'd never ask for help even if she's dying. We're just making sure everything's handled properly. The betrayal cut deeper than any scalpel ever could. The county records office became Jennifer's second home during my treatment. I learned this from security footage that the FBI would later analyze frame by frame. She appeared confident, walking in with Mama like they owned the place. I need to file a property transfer, Jennifer told clerk Maria Santos on March 15. She slid papers across the counter with steady hands, papers that contained my forged signature. Maria later testified that something felt off. The signature looked different from the one on file, she remembered. But the older woman insisted it was legitimate. That older woman was my own mother. Mama stood there wearing her best church dress and that innocent smile she'd perfected over 70 years. My daughter Janet's been very sick, she explained to Maria. Cancer, you know. She can barely write anymore, but she wanted to make sure her affairs were in order. The lie slid off her tongue like honey. While I was throwing up from chemo just 12 miles away, Mama was stealing my future with tears in her eyes and scripture on her lips. She specifically wanted Jennifer to have the house, Mama continued, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. They've always been so close. Janet said she wanted to know her baby sister was taken care of. Jennifer played her part beautifully, looking appropriately somber while clutching the fraudulent documents. This is so hard, she whispered. But Janet insisted. She said she didn't want us fighting over her things later. The property transfer went through that day. My $850,000 dream home, 15 years of 60-hour weeks, missed vacations and sacrificed relationships, became Jennifer's with the stroke of a forged pen. That night I was vomiting bile and dreaming of recovery. Jennifer was celebrating with expensive champagne, toasting her newest acquisition. I didn't know about Jennifer's casino addiction until much later. While everyone saw her as the responsible younger sister with the stable marriage to Mark, she'd been living a double life that was about to destroy everything. She was there every Friday night, said Thomas Reynolds, a dealer at the Riverboat Casino. Started small, maybe $20 hands. But it escalated fast. By the end, she was betting thousands. Jennifer had hidden her addiction masterfully. She told Mark she was working late or visiting me during treatment, but security cameras showed her at the blackjack tables instead. She'd developed a system in her mind: chase losses with bigger bets, double down when losing, borrow against credit cards to keep playing. The debt climbed to $200,000 faster than she could hide it. Credit cards maxed out, personal loans exhausted, and the casino was demanding payment. When she couldn't produce cash, they started mentioning broken kneecaps and family consequences. Please, she'd begged the casino manager during their final meeting. I just need more time. My sister's dying and I'm about to inherit her house. Inherit. Not receive as a gift. Inherit, implying I was already dead. Mark knew nothing about the debt, trusting his wife's lies about late work meetings and family obligations. He thought she was being saintly, caring for her sick sister while managing 2 households. If he'd known the truth, he would have filed for divorce immediately. But Jennifer had a plan. My house was worth $850,000, maybe more in the current market. She could sell it, pay off the casino, and pocket the difference. All she needed was for me to die or disappear from the equation. When the cancer treatment started working and my prognosis improved, Jennifer realized she might need to make her own opportunities. Recovery felt like emerging from underwater after nearly drowning. My hair was growing back in soft curls, my appetite returned, and most importantly, my mind cleared from the chemo fog. For the first time in months, I wanted to check on my house, my finances, my life. That's when I met Rebecca Martinez, the realtor who thought she was selling a dead woman's house. I'm so sorry for your loss, Rebecca said when I called her office, confused about a listing I'd seen online. Your sister Jennifer spoke so beautifully about you during our consultation. I'm sorry, what? I sat up straighter in my recliner. What loss? There was awkward silence. Aren't you? I thought. Jennifer said she inherited the house from her sister who passed away from cancer. The blood drained from my face. I am Jennifer's sister. I'm very much alive. Rebecca's sharp intake of breath was audible. Oh my God. I need to call my supervisor immediately. The house was listed at $1.2 million, significantly above market value. Jennifer had provided Rebecca with a fabricated death certificate, forged will documents, and tearful stories about her beloved sister who lost her brave battle with cancer. She seemed so grief-stricken, Rebecca later explained to investigators. She brought photos of you two together, talked about how much she'd miss you. She even wore black to our meetings. Jennifer had been thorough in her deception. She'd created an entire narrative about my death, complete with fake funeral arrangements and burial plots. She'd even posted cryptic messages on social media about missing someone special and heaven gaining an angel. Meanwhile, I was 20 minutes away eating soup and watching game shows, completely unaware that I was supposedly 6 feet underground. The betrayal felt like dying all over again, except this time my family had killed me themselves. I drove to Jennifer's house on a Thursday morning, my hands trembling with rage and disbelief. The chemo had taken my hair, my strength, and nearly my life, but it hadn't taken my fight. As I pulled into her driveway, I saw Mama's car parked beside Mark's truck. Perfect. The whole family was here for my resurrection. I didn't knock. I used my spare key, the one Jennifer had given me years ago, for emergencies. This definitely qualified. They were sitting around the kitchen table with paperwork spread everywhere. Jennifer looked up first, her coffee mug freezing halfway to her lips. Janet? What are you doing here? I should ask you the same thing, I said, walking closer. Especially since I'm supposed to be dead. Mama's face went pale. Honey, what are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table. I'm talking about you stealing my house. I'm talking about forging my signature. I'm talking about telling a realtor that I died so you could sell my property to pay off Jennifer's gambling debts. Mark's head snapped toward his wife. What gambling debts? Jennifer's composure cracked like thin ice. Janet, you're confused. The medication. Don't you dare blame this on chemo brain. I slammed my hand on the table. I spoke to Rebecca Martinez. I saw the property transfer documents. I know everything. Mama tried her church lady act one more time. Sweetheart, we were just trying to help. Help. I laughed bitterly. By stealing my house. By forging legal documents? By telling everyone I was dead. That's when Jennifer's mask finally slipped completely. She stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. You were going to die anyway. The doctors said stage 3 cancer, aggressive treatment. We just saved everyone the trouble of dealing with probate later. The silence in that kitchen was deafening. Mark stared at his wife like he'd never seen her before. Jennifer, what the hell is she talking about? What gambling debts? But Jennifer wasn't backing down now. Years of hidden resentment poured out like poison. You want the truth, Janet? Fine. You never had kids. You never got married. What did you need such a big house for anyway? Each word hit like a physical blow. You spent 15 years playing house in that mansion while the rest of us struggled. Mark and I are squeezed into this tiny place, Mama's still renting that apartment, and you're living like a queen. I worked for that house. I shouted back. 60-hour weeks, double shifts, no vacations. And what good did it do you? Jennifer's voice turned cruel. You still got cancer. You still almost died. At least this way the house would have gone to family instead of some random charity. Mama tried to intervene. Girls, please. No, Mama. Jennifer whirled around. I'm tired of pretending. Tired of watching Janet act like she's better than us because she makes more money. She was supposed to die, and instead she's sitting here causing problems. Mark slowly stood up from his chair. You stole your dying sister's house to pay gambling debts I didn't know about? Jennifer's face flushed red. It's not stealing when she was going to leave it to me anyway. I never said I was leaving it to you, I said quietly. Never once. Well, who else would get it? Jennifer snapped. You don't have anyone else. No husband, no kids, no real friends. Just that stupid house and your nursing job. That's when Mama delivered the final blow, looking me dead in the eye with those cold, calculating eyes I'd never seen before. You were going to die anyway, so we just saved everyone the trouble of dealing with probate later. The woman who'd raised me, who'd sung lullabies and wiped my tears, had just confirmed my worst nightmare. They never loved me. They'd only been waiting for me to die. The kitchen fell silent except for the humming of Jennifer's refrigerator. Mark looked like he might vomit. Mama fidgeted with her church purse. Jennifer stood defiant, chin raised like she'd just delivered a righteous speech. That's when I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile or even a sad one. It was the kind of smile that appears when everything suddenly makes perfect sense, when all the puzzle pieces click into place. The kind of smile that should have terrified them. What are you grinning about? Jennifer demanded. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone. I'm smiling because I've been recording this entire conversation. The color drained from Jennifer's face. You've been what? Recording. Everything. From the moment I walked in and you admitted to stealing my house, to Mama just now saying I was going to die anyway. I held up the phone so they could see the red recording button. 43 minutes of confession. Mama's church purse slipped from her fingers and hit the floor. Janet, you can't. Can't what? Can't record people admitting to felonies in their own house? Actually, Mama, I can. It's a one-party consent state. Mark was staring at his wife like she was a stranger. Jennifer, please tell me this isn't real. But Jennifer was focused on me now, panic replacing defiance. You have to delete that. We're family. Family. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Family doesn't forge signatures. Family doesn't steal houses. Family doesn't tell realtors their sister is dead while she's fighting for her life. I stood up slowly, savoring this moment. And family definitely doesn't say someone was going to die anyway, like that makes theft acceptable. Jennifer lunged for my phone, but I was faster. Chemo might have weakened my body, but fury made me quick. Too late, sis. This recording is already uploaded to the cloud. The panic in her eyes was beautiful. There's something else you should know, I said, pulling a manila folder from my bag. I didn't come here unprepared. I spread the documents across their kitchen table like a dealer dealing cards. Official letterhead, federal seals, signatures from people who don't mess around. Jennifer's eyes widened as she recognized what she was seeing. FBI. Mama whispered. You called the FBI? This morning. Filed a complaint for elder abuse, real estate fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. Agent Susan Wright was very interested in my case. I tapped the top document, especially when I showed her the forged signatures and fake death certificate. Mark picked up one of the papers, his hands shaking. Jennifer, they're talking about federal charges. 10 to 20 years. It gets better, I continued. The casino reported your debt to the IRS as potential money laundering. They have records of you claiming you'd inherit property to pay off gambling debts. That's wire fraud. Jennifer collapsed back into her chair. Janet, please. We can fix this. I'll transfer the house back. Too late for that. You already listed it for sale using fraudulent documents. Rebecca Martinez is cooperating with investigators. So is the county clerk who processed the fake paperwork. I pulled out another document. This is from the forensic accountant. They traced every penny you stole from my accounts while I was sick. Property taxes that didn't exist, lawn services that were never performed, financial advisors that were actually you withdrawing cash. Mama started crying, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of a woman realizing her con had fallen apart. We were trying to help you, she sobbed. Help me. You stole $47,000 from my savings account. You forged my signature on loan documents. You told my neighbors I was mentally incompetent. My voice stayed calm and cold. The FBI considers this organized crime. Mark stood up abruptly. I'm calling a lawyer. And a divorce attorney. Smart choice, I said. Because Jennifer's gambling addiction isn't your responsibility, but staying married to a felon might complicate your future. Jennifer finally broke down completely. I'm sorry, Janet. I'm so sorry. But apologies don't undo federal crimes. Within hours of my confrontation, Jennifer's carefully constructed world began collapsing like a house of cards. Mark packed a bag and left for his brother's house that same afternoon, telling neighbors their marriage was over. I thought I married someone honest, he told his coworker the next day. Turns out I was living with a criminal who tried to steal her dying sister's house. The casino debt collectors didn't care about Jennifer's legal troubles. They wanted their money, and now they knew she'd lost her only asset. The threatening phone calls started immediately. You said you had a house, the casino manager growled when Jennifer tried to explain. You said inheritance was coming. You lied to us too. Jennifer's employer, the accounting firm where she'd worked for 8 years, terminated her the moment they learned about the federal investigation. "We can't have someone under FBI investigation handling client finances," her supervisor explained. The local newspaper picked up the story. Sister's cancer fight turns into real estate fraud case. Jennifer's photo appeared alongside mine, but the contrast was stark. My picture showed a woman fighting for her life. Hers showed a criminal trying to steal from family. Church members began distancing themselves from Mama and Jennifer. Sister Williams called me personally to apologize. "We had no idea what they were really doing. We thought they were being good Christian women helping you in your time of need." "They were helping themselves," I replied. "To my house, my money, and apparently my obituary." Jennifer tried calling me dozens of times, leaving voicemails that ranged from angry to desperate to bargaining. "Janet, please. I know I messed up, but prison? Think about what this will do to the family." I never answered. The family that raised me had died the moment they forged my signature. The woman who survived cancer was building something new. 6 months later, I sat in federal court watching my mother and sister learn their fate. Jennifer wore an orange jumpsuit, her hair pulled back severely, looking nothing like the put-together woman who'd once tried to steal my life. The defendants engaged in a calculated scheme to defraud Ms. Clark while she battled cancer, Judge Patricia Holbrook said from the bench. They exploited her vulnerability, forged legal documents, and attempted to steal property worth nearly $1 million. Jennifer's lawyer had tried to argue for leniency, claiming she was desperate due to gambling addiction. But the prosecution presented evidence of premeditation. Practiced signatures, fake death certificates, coordinated lies to multiple agencies. "Your Honor," Jennifer said during her statement, "I know what I did was wrong. But I never meant to hurt my sister." "You told a realtor she was dead," Judge Holbrook replied dryly. "That suggests intent to hurt. Mama got 7 years for conspiracy and elder abuse. At 70, she'd likely die in prison. Jennifer received 12 years for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. Her gambling addiction wasn't considered mitigation, it was motive. This court sees too many cases where families prey on sick relatives," the judge continued. "Your actions were particularly heinous because Ms. Clark trusted you completely while fighting for her life." After sentencing, I walked outside into sunshine that felt warmer than it had in years. My hair had grown back thicker and coolier than before. My body felt strong again. Most importantly, my heart felt free. Mark had already filed for divorce and relocated to another state. The house was back in my name officially and legally. The forged documents were null and void. I'd won more than a legal victory. I'd won my life back from people who'd tried to bury me before cancer could finish the job. Justice tastes sweeter when you've earned it through survival. Today, I'm sitting on the porch of my dream house, watching the sunset paint my garden gold. The house that Jennifer tried to steal is more beautiful than ever, filled with people who actually love me. Rebecca Martinez, the realtor who'd unknowingly listed my house, became one of my closest friends. "I felt terrible about being deceived," she'd said. "Let me help you find people who deserve to be in your life." She introduced me to her book club, hiking group, and volunteer organization. For the first time in my life, I had friends who valued me for who I am, not what I could give them. Dr. Martinez checks on me regularly, not just as my oncologist but as someone who witnessed my fight. "You survived more than cancer," she told me during my last appointment. "You survived family who tried to kill your spirit." My church, a different one from Mama's, welcomed me with open arms. Pastor Johnson said something that still gives me chills. "Sometimes God removes people from your life to make room for better blessings." I've been cancer-free for 2 years now. The house that was supposed to be my tomb became my resurrection sanctuary. I host dinner parties, book clubs, and support groups for other cancer survivors. Last month, I received a letter from Jennifer in prison. She wanted forgiveness, claimed she'd found God, insisted she was sorry. I read it once and threw it away. Forgiveness isn't something you owe people who tried to steal your life. Peace isn't something you get by pretending betrayal didn't happen. I built new family from the ashes of the old one. People who celebrate my birthdays instead of planning my funeral. People who see strength in survival instead of weakness in illness. The woman who walked into that kitchen to confront thieves was afraid and angry. The woman typing this story is grateful and free. Sometimes the family you choose is the only family worth keeping. Here's where I'm conflicted. Do you think Janet chose peace over family, or did family choose drama over Janet? I'm genuinely curious which way you see it. Let me know in the comments. And if you love watching people discover their worth, hit subscribe and that bell. More empowering stories are coming your way.